was like, where would that smoke come from? Somebody light incense? I don't know. Oh. Well, welcome to our Rainbow series, Unstoppable. Like, we are doing it. What we have done, it's unstoppable in 2023 because this is the year. This is our year. This is the year we're in. And, I've seen a lot of people sharing things on social media about how in 2020, of course, it was a crazy year. In 2021, they had some high expectations and it didn't work out. 2022, more crazy stuff happened. So I see people teasing. 2023, sneak in very quietly. Don't touch anything. Just try to get through the year. I don't believe that. I believe we go into 2023. Now, of course, we're starting our third month, yay. But we go into 2023 with all the power that creates worlds that is working through us. This is not the year for us to be quiet in our lives. This is the year for us to show up big in our lives. And so, yes, can I get an amen? Amen. Okay. Yeah, we're here to show up big. That's what we're designed for. There's no soul that wants to be small and invisible through their whole lives. So we are here to be unstoppable. So what we did, first of all, earlier in this series, is we went through the 7 chakras and the shadows and the graces. Now, we sometimes we show up in our shadow because the shadow is our wound, and it's where we have a mistaken perception of ourselves. It's where we look around and think, oh, I'm not capable of doing this, or I'm not strong enough to do this, or I don't have what it takes to do this. We want to show up in limitation. We want to show up in our smallness when we're in our shadow, because in the shadow, we're going to make every choice out of fear. Now, just because we experience fear doesn't mean we're in our shadow, because we can experience fear, we can feel the fear, and we can do it anyway. But see, that's a big thing. We don't have to go into the next thing fearless. We get fearless by doing something over and over and over again, and we just get really good at it. Then there's nothing to worry about. Okay, fear. If we have fear, it means we haven't done this new thing yet, but we have that within us that knows what to do and how to do it, and it'll guide us into doing that. It'll guide us every step of the way. It's okay if we are afraid of stepping out of our comfort zone. That's perfectly normal. In fact, I would say that's probably a good sign, because then you're stepping out of your comfort zone. That's what's going on. So we've gone through the shadow. We've gone through the graces. The grace is what brings the light when we are in the shadow. The grace is what opens the path to healing. The grace, I love Ernest Holmes' definition of grace. It's the givingness of spirit, anything you need. Anything you need. Okay, so what is it that you need? Do you need some courage? Some counsel? Do you need a little divine direction? Do you need a little forgiveness? You need to let go of something? That's grace. Whatever it is we need, grace has that for us. The givingness of spirit has everything that we need. So here we are, and our life is about practicing this stuff. That's all. We're here to practice noticing when we're in our shadow. We're here to practice calling forth our grace. We're here to practice asking Spirit for what we need. Recognizing, I'm not doing so good right here. I need a little faith. I need some courage. I need some fortitude. We ask. When we ask, we receive. Okay, when we ask, we receive. So that's what we're learning here. It's just putting these principles to work in our lives. I don't know, who has time to go sit on a mountaintop quietly for 2 or 3 years to get all their spiritual knowledge down. I don't. I mean, it might be kind of fun, but I got a life. We all have lives. We've got people to meet and places to go and traffic to drive in. We've got laundry to do. We've got grocery shopping, right? We've got to choose between foods that serve us and foods that don't serve us. We've got to choose books to read. We're here to do. We're here to be. So we are here to put all of this stuff to work where we are, to make all of this better and bigger and brighter. So I'm going into our last of our universal laws today. This one's a little more complicated, but don't worry that it's complicated. It's really okay, because we can work through it all the time. We don't have to remember anything about it except what I'm going to share here in a minute, okay? So we've got the universal law of gender. But sometimes our spiritual authors who are teaching this stuff, they switch gender and gestation. Okay, now we know these are both kind of different things, right? So in the law of gender, and of course this is regarding spiritual growth, but it takes the masculine energies of giving and the feminine energies of receiving to work together to create new physical manifestations. And so we receive an idea, but the idea is given to us, right? We get an idea from source. So we get that idea, we receive it, and this leads to the start, maybe, of a new physical manifestation in our life. The law of gestation, it's the time and energy something needs to become physically manifested. Okay, so if we think about the most obvious example when you go to the law of gender and gestation, you think about like a mom and a dad and starting a family. And there is the masculine contributes something, and the feminine receives something. And then through the law of gestation, that something, which is now a baby, or it could be seeds you've planted in your garden, it takes the time and energy that it needs to be physically manifested. Even if, like I remember being pregnant and with my daughter, and she was a little bit bigger baby. Adam came 4 weeks early almost, so he surprised me when he came along, but he took the time he needed. He wasn't on my timeline, obviously, right? Well, my little daughter, she wasn't on my timeline either. So she was on her timeline. So our creative process, or the thing we are creating, has its own timeline. Now the law of gender and the law of gestation, they are the process. It's the process that leads to the start of a new creation. Now in our lives, we are creating all the time, right? We receive ideas to do the next thing that we want to do. Now this is where, when I talk about how there are so many moving parts in this universe, it's because of all the creation that is going on. Now, when we start the process of a new creation in our life, a new idea, well, guess what? There's a whole lot of things that start happening around us. And this is why sometimes when we decide on something, then we start having synchronicities about it, right? Like if you decide, if you're trying to choose, should I go on vacation to Alaska or Antarctica, right? Just asking the question, I know those are extreme, huh? Antarctica, yay! I've been watching Lost, so I don't even know what to say. But all of a sudden, what you might find is you start noticing things about Alaska, or you start noticing things about Antarctica. And they just seem to pop up into your awareness, okay? Because things are moving together. Things are coming together. And of course, our brain's reticular activating system is also helping a lot with this. But this is when we start setting things in motion, when we get a new idea. A puppy hair. They're everywhere. Like they're all over me. I just go like this and I can see them go flying. Okay, so we start a new process of creation. Like every time we get any kind of new idea we get excited about. So what happens here is we've got what's called the masculine energy, but in unity, in science mind, new thought, kinds of philosophies, we call this the originative force. It gives the initial contribution. All right? So it's when we ask a question, like, what should I do next? And then we get the idea. There's the initial contribution to get us going. Okay, so now we receive something. So we've received that. Now it's on us. And this is like part of the feminine aspect of energy. We receive it, but now we're the one holding it. We're the one that has to do something with it. Okay, for example, when a woman does get pregnant, her body does everything for that newborn or that new life. Her body is doing everything. It's doing a bunch of things it's never done before, or it doesn't usually do all the time. And dad can't come along and say, well, let me just help speed up this process. No, dad doesn't, the masculine energy, the original contributor, he can't do anything here. He can support mom, right? He can go get her the weird ice cream she craves, or, do things around the home for her. He can support her, but he cannot speed up this process. The universe cannot speed up the process for it if we don't do something with it first. So we get the idea, but now it's on us to do something with that. Okay, so as just an example, I asked a question a few weeks ago. What can I do to to have another activity outside of Unity? And what popped into my head was book club, right? We're always thinking of book clubs and stuff. But I'm like, well, I know book clubs. I know that's a thing. But then what popped into my head was start a Panera book club. And I was like, what? And so now we meet Tuesday nights at Panera. If you'd like an evening book club, we meet Tuesday evenings at Panera. But I asked the question and I received it. I received the inspiration. And it was on me to tell people about it. It was on me to schedule it. It was on me to put the word out there. Okay, the universe, or my big Sky Daddy doesn't say, well, let me just call everybody and let everybody know about your book club for you. And here, I'll get everybody's book. Okay, the universe has to wait at this point because all it does is hand back an idea to us. Okay, so I acted on it, and, we now have a Panera book club. Okay, so the universe has to wait on us. The universe gives us the idea, but now we have to do something. We have to act on it, take some step toward creating that in our lives. Now, what is happening within you, like when you receive this idea, what you're actually doing for this idea is you are nurturing it, you are giving it what it needs to get strength and momentum to be made manifest in your life. That idea, that inspiration, it needs nurturing, it needs attention, it needs energy to get strength and momentum to manifest in your life. Now, it's important for us to know this because sometimes we give up too soon, right? We think about it, we've maybe taken one action, and nothing's happening. And so we start feeling bad and we want to give up. But see, all of our ideas, all of our inspirations, they take the time and the energy that they need. Because however much energy something needs, we have to give it that amount of energy. However much time something needs, we have to give it that time so that it can get the strength and the momentum to be made manifest in our life. Now, today after service, which we are meeting at Carol's Kitchen, or not Carol's Kitchen, I'm sorry, Cafe Royale, right down the street for lunch. But see, you could pick anywhere to go for lunch this afternoon. You could pick anywhere. And this is an idea. You had an idea. Oh, I'll go out to lunch. But it's not really manifested in your life. I mean, you have to get in your car and drive there. But it's still not manifested in your life. You have to get out of your car and go into that restaurant. But it's still not manifested in your life. You can sit at the table and place your order, but it is still not manifested in your life until you get your order and you actually eat your food. Because you could receive that order and decide, I'm going home for cheese and crackers. You could change your mind, and then that idea, it would not become manifest. It would not be an experience that you had because you never made the final choice to eat your lunch. Every idea that we ever have, the majority of them do not get the strength and the momentum to be made manifest in our lives. Most of them do not get all the energy and the time and attention and the focus that they need to be made manifest in our lives. So sometimes it will feel like this is all working against us, right? We might think, well, I got this great inspiration. It was so powerful. Like I was for sure thinking it would happen. And I did this. Well, I ordered myself some new business cards, right? But it doesn't happen. So when we feel like it's working against us, this is why. We give up too soon, right? Again, we give up too soon. We're not giving it the time, the attention, the energy, and the focus that it requires. So we give up too soon. Now this is, I like, you all know my favorite metaphor for life is our garden, right? Because the package of our life is our own personal garden and our experiences. We have seeds, our thoughts are seeds, and we plant them and we nurture them and they are made manifest in our life. Now, if you were planting a garden, it may be that one thing, like sprouts, would grow very quickly. And you'd be happy because they grew very quickly. But if you plant an avocado tree, those things take a really long time. And if you planted yourself, even if you went to the nursery and got a little avocado tree sprout that was like that big, we're still talking years before you get your avocados off that tree. So do you plant it and then give up on it in a week because it hasn't given you a bunch of avocados? No, because the avocado tree is not going to grow as fast as the sprouts. It needs a lot more of your focus, needs a lot more of your time and your attention before it starts growing those beautiful avocados for you. Okay, so this happens to us. I know this happens to me a lot. I'll get a great idea and I give up on it. I've given up on so many things over the years. Okay, and so this is what happens. Sometimes we give up and we haven't actually given up. We've decided it was wishful thinking because we don't think we're capable of doing it. We think, well, that's a really big idea and that would really change my life a lot and I don't think I could even manage that. So we give up before we even get started. We just let that idea go. Now, when we do that, we're in our shadow. Okay, we're living in a mistaken perception of ourselves, and we're believing in our separation from source. We're not trusting in the power that creates worlds that's at work through each of us. So we don't even try. Sometimes we have this great idea, and this happens a lot in spiritual circles. We get this great idea, and then we think the universe should do all the work. But remember, the universe just gives its initial contribution. We have to do something with that contribution and send it back. Okay? The universe is responsive. So it's playing a game of ball, right? This game of life that we're playing in, we're playing ball with the universe. So the universe throws us the ball and we throw it back. You can't stand there holding your ball and wondering why the universe is not playing with you because you're the one that's not playing with the universe. When we hang on to that ball because we're in fear, right? We're the one not playing ball. And so sometimes, I've done this. I think the universe should do all the work for me. Luckily, the first time I discovered I did this, which I've done it a lot, and I still sometimes will pop into that, but I was working in a chiropractic office, and my chiropractor was very, very sensible, but she was a practical mystic. And she said, well, Deanna, you got to do a lot more work here. I'm like, what? Just because I got my business cards printed and all new clients aren't coming? I don't have 10 new clients this week? She's like, well, you got to take those business cards out and give them to people. I was like, oh, that's kind of like that story about winning the lotto. You have to go buy a ticket, right? Okay, that's the story of my life and so many things. Okay, so sometimes we think the universe should do all the work, but that's not a game. That's not playing the game of life. That's not playing ball with the universe. Sometimes we give up after it doesn't happen quickly enough, right? We get a great idea, we get this inspiration, and maybe we do take some action, but it hasn't happened yet. And so we think, well, okay, maybe it's just not meant to be. So we let go. Again, all of this, we're in our shadow. We're in our shadow, living through a mistaken perception of ourselves, thinking it's not possible, thinking someone else could do it, but not us. We don't have what it takes. Okay, the last one, giving up. This is a big one. Sometimes we get this idea, this inspiration, a realization that is so big. We know it's going to change our life, and we don't know if we can handle that change yet. For example, I have several friends who've gone through divorce. I don't know, how many of you have ever gone through divorce, but for my friends, and this is how it was with each of them, she had a revelation, but it meant too much change. So all of them said this, the kids are too small, so I can't do it right now. And it was because the change is just too big, right? Well, this needs to fall into place, or I need to find another house, or this, right? This kind of a realization is so big that we're going to put off our good because it's too big. We're afraid we won't be able to manage it. Also, something like starting a new business. Maybe you get the realization you need to be out of your current job. But then it's one thing to think about it, like, okay, I could quit and then I could do this. But actually to do it, to quit a job that means safety and security and a regular paycheck, that is really scary, right? So again, we might put off our good. We might think, well, I'll try doing something on the side for a year and I'll keep the regular pay, for another year and see how that goes. But see, when we work that way, we slow things way down. The universe moves at the speed of light, so creation can happen very quickly. But all of this, we're just in our shadow and we're not trusting the process working through us. So this is manifesting. Manifesting our new experiences, creating a life we love. It takes both faith and patience. Now we know about faith. Trusting what's at work through us, for us, as us, trusting, having faith in ourselves to act on what the inner being is telling us, what the divine is telling us to do. But patience is like something totally different for us, right? But if we don't have patience, we can actually erode our own faith, because if something's not happening quickly enough and we don't have patience, we'll start losing faith and we'll start doubting. Sometimes things move really, really fast for us, but most of the time, things kind of plod along, right? They kind of move slow. Maybe we get off to a slow start. When we get off to a slow start, there's also something that, of course, that we need patience and faith for, is we might receive a lesser version of our desire that we want to create. And so, for example, I'm going to use the example of dieting, okay? You may, I know my own experience. I have changed my eating plan, but the process starts off really slow. And I'm like, is this all I'm going to be able to manage? Should I just give up? And that would be settling for a lesser version of what I want. Years ago, we've had this experience so many times with house hunting. We know what we want, but a lesser version of a house comes up, and it's not great, but it's well, if this is all that's available, maybe we just have to take that. Okay, that's a lesser version. We're not supposed to be settling, right? We are not supposed to be settling. Now, this lesser version of stuff showing up in our life, this is what Florence Scovel Shinn called signs of land. Signs of land is a term back in the old days when the only way you could get across the great big ocean was through a ship. Now, the captain, the crew, they would know where they were going, but they're not necessarily going to see on the horizon. They're not going to see the land. They're not going to see the continent where they're headed. But when they look in the water, they see sticks and twigs and leaves. They see birds that would only fly out as far as they can get back, right? A bird's not going to fly all the way out there if they can't turn around and fly back to land. So the sailors, the captain, the crew, they would keep steady. They'd keep steady on their course, knowing they're heading in the right direction, even if they can't see the land yet. Now, when we have a lesser version of something we want show up in our life, we don't have to settle for that. Instead, celebrate it, because it's telling you, keep steady. You are going in the right direction. Stay on your course. And practice faith and patience and repeat as needed. Okay, have faith. The captain, they just knew that the land was going to be there in a minute. They just knew that. It was a done deal. Okay, when we have something inspire us in such a big way and we are taking action and we start seeing those signs of land, keep at it. It's just about a done deal. Okay, so faith and patience. Patience, especially. When I hear people talk about patience, I don't know, maybe you hear this too, but you'll hear somebody say, well, I was just praying to God for some more patience, and then they'll make a face, right? Oh, I asked for more patience. Look what happened. Right? Patience is not something we enjoy. Patience is not something we love. We get excited about our manifesting happening, and we want it now. Okay, we want it now. But I'm, again, going to go back to the garden. Okay, the garden. We plant a garden. We put the seeds in that we want. We tend it. We love it. We are giving it all the energy and attention it needs. Patience comes in because we don't dig up those seeds to try to see what's going on with them, right? If nothing's sprouted in a couple days, we don't dig up the seeds. We don't lecture the seeds. We don't tell the seeds, okay, now it's your job to go down there and grow into some red cabbage. Okay, we don't have to tell the seeds anything. The seeds, they have their own consciousness. They have their own divine program within them. They will do what they do best when they are given the right environment. It's our job to give them the right environment. Okay, the nurturing soil, the water as needed, pulling up the weeds, distracting squirrels and bunnies with other goodies or planting lots of extra for them. Now, in our own life, our inspiration, our idea, it comes with the consciousness to help direct us. This is from Greg Braden. Nope. Consciousness informs itself through its creations. And I made the ITs, capital, because we're talking here divine motion. We're talking the divine moving into substance. Okay, so the seeds have their consciousness. They will do what they do if we give it the right environment. Our inspirations and our seed thoughts, when we give them the right environment, then we are manifesting greater good in our life. So, patience. I'm going to go back to this. I want to redefine patience. It's not sitting and waiting. It's pour your creative energy into something else while you wait. So when you plant your garden, you don't have to sit out there all day and fret about what's working or not. You go to a movie, tidy your bookcase, tidy something, go visit some friends. Pour your creative energies into another endeavor. When we get inspired with our original contribution, okay, that original idea, as long as we are taking action and nurturing it and loving it and giving it the time that it needs, it's a done deal, even if we can't see it happening yet. But we're giving it everything it needs to get the strength and momentum to be made manifest in our life. So with patience, there's really only so much that we can do. So we want to pour our creative energies into something else that keep our vibration up, that keep our frequency up to match our inner being, to match the other thing that we want to create, right? So that we stay in a state of gratitude and appreciation and joyfulness and excitement and zeal and curiosity, okay? So keeping our frequency up, that's like a really important thing because there's only so much time in a day you're going to devote to your garden. And so there are a lot of hours in the rest of the day where you could lament things that are going too slow. Okay, we want to fill the rest of our day up with good things, things that bring us joy. So patience, it's not about being okay with sitting and waiting. It's about creating more. You are here to be a creator. So just keep creating, big ideas and small ideas. This is from George Bernard Shaw. Better keep yourself clean and bright. You are the window through which you must see the world. Okay, clean and bright. Are we in our shadow or are we in our grace? Are we thinking, I'm not enough, things never work out for me, why is life so hard, why do some people have it so much easier, I'll never be able to do this is just wishful thinking? Okay, are we thinking that? Or are we thinking, well, I had a divine revelation, this inspiration of mine, and well, if God is all things, and that means me, and that means my idea too. And so that means my idea will bring along with it whatever I need to make it manifest. If I keep playing ball with the universe, something eventually is going to happen, right? If you throw a ball, somebody throws a ball back at you, right? That's the law of the universe. So here, this is where we're keeping clean and bright. We're choosing to show up in faith. We're choosing joy. We're choosing enthusiasm. We're choosing the curiosity and the excitement to keep the game going with the universe. So here's our call to action. We'll start with our affirmation. My life is a garden, and I am the gardener. Let's say that together. My life is a garden, and I'm the gardener. Okay, and I want to share something here with you. You are not a gardener. You are the gardener. You are the gardener in your life. So over this next week, and let's all do this together, okay? Let's just do this together, each in our own life. What can we do to keep the game going, right? As we're working on our creation, our desired outcome, there's only so much time in a day we can devote to that, right? Only so many things we can do. So what else can we do to keep going? Let's choose a secondary project. Now, the secondary project does not have to be a big thing. One of my secondary projects that I chose was that I want to read 24 books this year. That's not a big deal, but it's fun and it makes me happy when I think about it, especially like I have so much fun when I'm reading a book someone else is reading and we get to talk about it, right? And I had, Ileana got me started on that last year when she shared a couple of her books with me. And it was so fun to get here a little early and talk about these books. That brings me joy, right? And I feel excitement about reading, okay? Of course, for me, I always have music. I'm always writing something new. You guys are going to get to hear a couple of new songs next Sunday. But that brings me a lot of joy because I feel like my two creations, they're big and they're going to take a lot. Like, for one, my husband and I are working on finding our own dream home. Like, we want that, right? But we're doing what we can, but there's only so many hours in a day you can look for houses for sale or properties for sale, right? So we find other things to do. He's building guitars. My other big project really is our big project, and it's finding the next space for Unity. But you've got a really committed board that is working on all of that right now. We're doing a lot of little things, right? So we're expanding here in our space to outgrow it and go to our next thing. But again, there's only so much time in a day that you really can do something. So none of us want to feel like, well, when's this going to happen? This is slow. Why is everything so expensive? Right? We don't want to go there. Okay, so this is why secondary projects are really important. And it helps keep us patient because we're distracted and we're not thinking about it. Right? So we're patient and we are acting in faith. Now, a gardener does not walk out to the potential new garden and demand that the garden serve them. The gardener does not demand that life serve them. The gardener knows that they are there to serve life. They are there to serve the garden. They are there to nurture it and give it the environment to make it grow. That's what all of us, we are all here to serve our garden, our package of our life, our relationships and how we show up in this world and the things that we do and how we do what we do. We are here to serve life through all that we do. When we make choices that honor the divine within us, when we make choices that are out of faith, when we make choices showing that we are giving time and attention and energy and focus to all the things we want to create in our life. Because if it was given from source, it is a tremendous gift. And it is here to be honored and expressed. I really feel like great ideas, they hunt us down. A great idea searches for someone who it knows can manifest it. So we honor that idea. That's a saying, that I've heard ages ago. The big idea is hunting you. The big idea is hunting you. And we are honorable when we do things to give it all the attention that it needs and to give it all the time it needs so that it has the strength and the momentum to be made manifest in our lives. Because that is how we are creating heaven on earth. So until next time, remember, you are divinely designed to be doing all of this stuff. Okay, the power that creates worlds is at work in you right here and now. And everything you do, you are blessed, and so it is. So it is.